So this episode is going to be all about Whoop, how I use it, how it's changed my life. We're going to go over the monthly assessment that you get from it. And if you're not familiar with Whoop and how it measures performance 24/7, we'll touch on that in this video, this podcast. I do have a series. It's probably my most watched videos as a whole on the channel, of going over all the different aspects of Whoop, the importance of HRV, why I got it in the first place, which would probably be the video that I would say kind of catapulted me into taking the channel more seriously, because I really started the channel for just, fun and having an outlet, like I said in the first video, of creating content. I had a Yeti video that I put out that all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm got a hold of. And then secondly, it's probably a video that I wasn't even proud of. I had COVID at the time when I shot it, but it's when I got the Whoop strap. And as I unboxed it, I said why I bought it, which I'll go over in this podcast. And it did really well. So first off, just little personal things. I am day 2 back into CrossFit, and my body is feeling it. And I tell you, and it's something that I see in my Whoop statistics. Another reason why I just love the Whoop strap. When I was going back and I was on the road for the past 2.5, 3 weeks, I was back to doing like bodybuilding style workouts. And yeah, you feel like you're getting stuff done in the gym, doing your bicep curls, you're hitting your bench press, you're going through your checklist, and then you look at the statistics of, I'm a big proponent of getting that heart rate up for cardiovascular health, and you just see your strain on the Whoop. And if you don't know strain, then again, you're gonna have to go to the series, because there's just not too much I'm gonna cover in detail. I'm assuming if you're listening to this that you're very familiar with the Whoop, or you've at least done some research. Did a whole series on that, put a lot of hard work into it. So go check those out if you have any questions on strain that I don't touch on here, or anything else about the Whoop. But you just get a low strain, and sure, you kind of feel good, but I mean, data. Be as objective as possible with where your health stands. And you look at it from doing bodybuilding, at least I did when I was looking at what I was doing the past 2.5, 3 weeks. And I just wasn't doing anything. And it's proof as I get back and I'm doing these CrossFit workouts that my cardiovascular health did diminish a little bit over the past 3 weeks, and definitely over the course of the past few months as I've gotten off my rhythm. So I got to get back to it. But I'm happy to be back doing CrossFit. It feels amazing. Really pushed myself today. And it just all around, I feel much better, much more energized. And it just puts me in this awesome rhythm of getting back to what I love to do, which is work myself out to the point of exhaustion. There's like this endorphin rush you get. It's almost like a masochist. Like, that's what I always say, is you hurt yourself, not in an unhealthy way. I mean, you push yourself to your limits. It's like David Goggins. If you don't know David Goggins, he's an ex-Navy SEAL. He wrote the book Can't Hurt Me, about his life story. Follow him on Instagram. God, he's such an inspiration. But he had this quote. I don't know when he said it or exactly the first time he said it. And it's not even like a statistically backed fact, just more of an observation, that the average person probably pushes himself only to about 40% capacity. I see that day to day. Definitely see that at general chain gyms. I kind of see it at the CrossFit gyms, less so. Maybe they're pushing themselves to more like the 60 to 70% range. CrossFit kind of just pushes you a little harder. You get this community of people. You're trying to better your previous score. You're trying to better the people around you. So you're getting to more of that 80, 90, 100. And I have felt what it feels like to do 100% capacity work. Rogue Fitness a few months back had their 50 cal bike challenge that I decided to do. And for some reason, maybe it's my big legs, I love working out on the assault bikes, but it's like the Rogue Echo bike version, like that overbuilt, really big hunk of metal. So Rogue Fitness had their challenge. It was the 50, how fast you could do 50 calories. And I did mine in 50 seconds. I saw some savages online that like won the competition, did it in like sub 30. What the hell? Because the way I felt, that was 100% capacity for me. I went in, my heart rate was 190, 200 plus. Just feel like it's exploding out of my chest, just giving max effort for 50 seconds. And I actually could not get myself to drive my truck home for about 45 minutes. Like I sat through like the next entire class just on the bench, just waiting for that lactic acid to work its way out, get some feeling back in my legs and my body, get my heart rate down. But it gave me the feeling of what 100% is. And you can ask yourself, but did you die though? Well, I didn't. So I lived to see another day. And now I've got a benchmark for myself of exactly what it is to push myself to the point of 100%. So getting back to that feeling, I absolutely love it. And that's what I love. Just flat out. Knowing that my body's prepared for anything and it can handle anything. And that if I really want to push myself, I'm going to live through it. Which is also a funny thing. So when I climbed Mount Hood recently, one of my friends, Jordan, who lives out in Denver, Colorado, I told him, I go, listen, and he's not in bad shape, but he's not, say, maybe mountain climb ready shape as he should be at the time of mountain climbing trip. Or, he just had anxiety about his fitness. And he was fine. He made it to the top. But I told him, no, you'll pass out before you die. Like, your body will protect you against not making it to the top of the mountain. If you can't make it, you can't make it. And that's kind of the mantra I live by. Like, you'll pass out. Your body has its protections, and you'll just black out, but you'll still keep breathing. So, as odd as that sounds, that's just how I like to work out sometimes. But, again, I do that less now at my age. I'm 32 years old. My doctor gives me not so subtle reminders that I'm not the young collegiate athlete, easy rebound man anymore. I'm getting older. I don't think I'm old by any means. Like I think I'm in the best shape of my life at 32 years old, but I'm also not bouncing back as quickly as I did when I was in my 20s. So a lot of things that I do revolves around recovery. Definitely sleep is a huge part of that. So things like Whoop came into my life for the better. Now, when it comes to Whoop, I've had people comment, make assumptions like, hey, this is definitely a Whoop channel. They're paying you to say these things, yada, yada, yada. Listen, like I said before or earlier, the reason I got the Whoop strap, well, let's take a step back, actually. So I'm like a Apple, like I own a lot of Apple things. I'm in the Apple ecosystem. Everything works great. And I love their Apple Watch. One of the great things about having an Apple Watch is that it's something accessible and something that's very intuitive that a lot of people have. So a lot of my friends had it. It's got those awesome competitions you can do with each other, but it's all based on certain metrics as far as like your move goal, calories, and things like steps. I mean, God, I think steps is the most overrated metric out of anything. Yeah, sure, go do your 10,000. And funny thing about that, the 10,000 actually comes from some old pedometer, I believe, from Japan. It's just an arbitrary metric, but I guess if you're going on something and you're, lazy, just go do 10,000 steps. It's going to get you good enough. At least you're not sitting and laying on the couch all day. So, I had an Apple Watch. My girlfriend at the time had a Whoop strap, and she absolutely loved it. I wasn't big on Whoop. The biggest, and it still irks me to this day, is the subscription model of Whoop. If you sign up for 6 months, you're going to pay $30 a month subscription. I hate subscriptions. I'm very conscious of my finances. I hate paying bills that have to be paid month over month if I can pay it all up front, which Whoop does allow you to do that. And now I believe they give discounts for that. Then I don't want it. I want to pay just like the Apple Watch. You pay one fee unless you're doing your cellular plan, whatever. That's something else. But for the actual use of the hardware and device, pay one fee and you're done. Well, I started noticing like her metrics in the morning and, looking over and seeing the journal, seeing the data. I started hearing through certain things like exactly how important HRV is and this miracle metric that was coming out of nowhere, or at least coming out of nowhere in my life, because it just wasn't a metric that I was aware of or something that I wanted to pay attention to. And then COVID. So COVID comes. She constantly thinks she has COVID. I have COVID, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Well, respiratory rate goes up according to Whoop. She's like, oh, man. We had just gotten tested. We just got back from a trip. We just got tested. Everything came back negative. Got tested multiple times. Kept coming back negative. And it was literally the day after we tested negative, respiratory rate goes up. It's like, you don't have it. We just got tested. Well, my respiratory rate is significantly up multiple points according to my Whoop strap. Okay. Goes and get tested again a couple days later because COVID incubates in your system and then it shows itself some days after that. She goes and get tested. She's got COVID. All right. Well, I'm never going to hear the end of that. But that kind of just it changed my mind on the Whoop strap. I'm very stubborn in thinking that I know what my body's doing day to day. And I like to try to exercise humility when I can. But you got to show me some data. You have to show me something that I can rely upon, something I can verify against that's going to help me get there. As far as, I got to understand, okay, I'm sick or I shouldn't work out, stuff like that. And that really blew me away. There's a lot of articles coming out of Whoop about the use of it. Respiratory rate was actually added as a metric because of the respiratory issues that people had with COVID. And it was just a simple software update, which was great. Whoop's a very software-first company. And so that right there, and about a week later, I got COVID. It made me finally go, you know what? The Apple Watch is great, but it doesn't necessarily give me the metrics that I want if I'm going to push myself and improve my fitness and all the goodness. And I tried. I'll tell you, I tried. I tried every which way, researched. There was this app called Training Today that did HRV on the Apple Watch, and that's probably the most frequent thing. I wish Whoop would put an app on Apple, and I'll get to my theory because I haven't been able to get an answer from anybody, but I'll give you my theory on why that just won't work. So, I tried every which way, and that damn battery life on the Apple Watch, God. I've got a Garmin. I've tested other devices. Apple is very focused on doing what they want to do, and battery life is going to be a sacrifice to that. And they keep saying they're improving it. Maybe the Apple Watch 7 that's coming out is going to improve upon that, but I just don't see it getting to the point where it's going to be something like the Whoop. And the Whoop has that awesome ability of charging it on the go because it's got the battery pack, which I actually have behind me because I just got done charging mine. It just slides over the top and you can just keep wearing it. On top of that, I wear my Whoop on my bicep, and I honestly forget. I mean, you can't even see it right now, but it's on my arm all the time, 24/7. Haven't taken it off since I put the bicep band on, and just constantly just collecting data that I can review in their monthly performance or their weekly performance assessment, which I haven't even looked at mine. I have it pulled up, and I'll go over exactly what I'm looking for improvements and just kind of give you my take on what I need to work on based solely on the Whoop data. So the comments come in that state, hey, you probably work for Whoop. I have no association with Whoop. I'm sorry. I am an affiliate now, but as an affiliate, they don't tell me what to do. They don't tell me what to say. They don't tell me to promote the product. But I do get a kickback if you join using my link, and it's a great way to support the channel and for you to join and get the product. Because I'm not gonna ever ask anyone for donations or money or anything. I want like a quid pro quo, like you get this for that. You support the channel, you're gonna get the product anyway, so why not have that relationship? And it was months after that video came out, did pretty well, that the discussions were had of becoming an affiliate. So, I mean, that's it. That's simple. Like, I can't remember last time I talked to anybody at Whoop. Just how it is. So, again, that's a link. If you like what you hear in this podcast, or you go back and you see my series of videos and you want to join, then you already haven't, used I would appreciate it and be very grateful if you did use that affiliate link. But that's the only relationship I have. So, any assumptions, conspiracy theories that people want to come on, put in the comments, go for it. I don't care. This also goes to say that, like, other instances I'm sure are going to come up in my channel or this podcast when I review things. And I actually had a meeting today about that with a product that I am very, very excited about reviewing. Like, I can't tell you how excited about it. It all relates to this whole recovery and sleep and everything. And I've rejected reviewing products in the past is that I need to truly love the product. That I need to understand it. I want to understand its benefits. I want to understand how it incorporates into my life. And I will be your number one fan if I love your product. I will preach it from the rooftops. I'll also be very transparent when there's something I don't like. Like, again, with the Whoop. God, like the subscription model, if you just give me one fee to pay up front, even if it's, a little more, I'll do it. So I don't have to do the subscription. I just will. I hate it. It's a big barrier for a lot of people that want to pull the trigger on it, and I totally get it. So if I like your product, I am going to push it. So why not take a benefit and help support the channel and grow everything? And then through that, I can give more reviews and more advice and more referrals of products and yada, yada, yada. That's just how it's all going to work through this. And Whoop is just the number one. I tell you, I just love the product. Can't speak more highly of the product and how it's affected my life. And I'll tell you how it's affected it coming up. I've just become an all-around more fit person. I said I think I'm in the best shape of my life, and I think Whoop has a tremendous role in that. It's all about working smarter, not harder, just something that, you really strive for. And I was working like on feeling. I was definitely working out more than 7 times a week at one point, especially when I was living in South Beach. Everything's so accessible. You can be way more fit and active. You're walking everywhere. Maybe go to the CrossFit gym more than once in a day to hit a different workout. And I had nothing to I was working backwards is what I was doing. I was working what I thought was to improve my fitness, but I was really just beating my body down. I wasn't recovering, and I just didn't have anything to tell me, because that goes back to another problem I have with the Apple Watch is it's all about these move rings, and they recommend certain periods of time based on your movement and your activity, increase your move calories. Nothing about recovery. Nothing at all. It's just all about burning more and more. And when you do the competitions, there are max points, but it's all based on what you have your ring set to, that if you close a ring, so say the person I'm competing with wants to burn, something ridiculous, like 1,500 calories of moving. Not even what you burn normally in a day just living, like the average 2,000 calories a day. An additional 1,500 calories. I'm going to push it. I'm going to move it. I feel like absolute dog shit, but I'm still going to close these damn rings. To me, it's a great start for the average person, but you got to get to a point where you're really focused on recovering if you want to take your fitness to the next level. And that's something I preach, and why the Whoop strap, again, is such a fantastic tool. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I want to be able to do whatever I want at any point in time. And by whatever I want, I mean literally climb a mountain with no training, just get out there because my body is ready for it. And I think that's how everybody should be. We are so soft as a society, especially us here in the United States. If you go and get some perspective by traveling to other countries, especially poorer countries, and just the thought of there's a lot of villages out there that have to walk miles and miles just to get water. That's their activity, and they got to carry. I mean, water is so heavy. My workout today was carrying kettlebells. It's likely the same weight that people are carrying in water. So here in the United States, I can go to my fridge, I get that cool filtered water straight off the tap. We're just spoiled. Our bodies they're getting soft. They're not ready for anything. And cardiovascular disease is the number one killer by far. It's the number one pandemic. We talk about COVID, and nothing against COVID. I'm just saying 500,000 deaths is a absolute tragedy. But that would be a really good year for cardiovascular disease in the United States, and that is mind-blowing. So having a focus on fitness, recovering better, getting your strain score up, which is related to your cardiovascular health, all of that stuff, all that goodness is what we need to push ourselves, and that's why I like seeing the data. So those are a bunch of great things about Whoop. Another big question I get that I mentioned earlier is, why can't Whoop just put an app on the Apple Watch? And that was a question I had before. When I had the Apple Watch, I was like, God, if they could just make a magic baby between the hardware of the Apple Watch, which I think is clearly superior. I think Apple's more of a hardware first company, and I think Whoop is a software first company. They could make this like amazing device. But here's my theory of why that won't work. First of all, this holistic idea of software and hardware architecture and understanding how it's going to work in symbiosis and benefit at the best. If I look at the Apple Watch and you look at the OEM software, which would be just like the basic things that come loaded on the Apple Watch as far as fitness, especially when I was training for like marathons and stuff, or maybe doing like a triathlon, when you're using your watch for an extended period, I'm using things like Strava or Nike Run Club or other software. The battery level is just draining, and I absolutely hate it. Like I won't, if you're doing extended marathon training or triathlon training or stuff like that, get a Garmin, get a Polar watch, get something else. The Apple Watch isn't going to have the best, like, and if you're doing Ironman, just forget about it. Just, you need something with some battery life. It just drains. But when I used for like, say running for like, going an 8-mile run and use the Apple software, battery life is premium. So that tells me that because of Apple's knowledge of their hardware, they know how the interaction of the battery life and use of the software works the best. That's that holistic architecture. Same for Whoop. Whoop, I don't know where this rumor came from where the hardware's crap. I did another video testing the accuracy. Apple Watch did have better accuracy I used the Polar H10 as my standard guide for heart rate. Whoop did great. It did for a 24/7 tracker. It did absolutely fine. Its accuracy was actually even better than the Garmin that I wore, the Garmin Fenix 5. But I will say, you hold it. The device it doesn't feel, I shouldn't say feel, because there's actually a trick that I learned about product development. So if you hold like the Whoop, and I'll just touch on it real quick because I think it's kind of interesting, like psychologically how we are. If you hold the Whoop and you hold the Apple Watch has weight to it, and it feels premium. Like you're feeling like, okay, like there's some good stuff in here, right? And the Whoop strap is super light. There is a psychological thing that a product developer may do and add artificial weight to something just to make it feel more premium, which is absolutely insane. But if you got the Whoop strap and it did have like just lead in it, just a little, make it heavier, psychologically, there's going to be some of you out there that's going to think that it's more premium than the hardware, that more premium hardware than it actually is, which is crazy. But I don't know where the rumor came from that the hardware is complete crap in the Whoop strap. I think it's completely fine. After doing the review and testing the accuracy, I don't see why they would need to come out with a 4.0. Like I said before, I think they're a software first. I think their updates will come from the software rather than the hardware. I don't see it unless they're going to add other metrics like pulse ox or something, which I find to be, it's okay to have, but kind of useless. You can go get one of those finger measurements. So Whoop being software first, there's a lot of interaction between the device, the phone, and the servers, a lot of back and forth. That's also a subscription. You're paying for like that cloud server calculations and getting the data back and forth and hosting and all that good stuff. They also have their software to hardware, holistic, like symbiotic relationship with the how they've built it on their side. So that's one reason. I think there just isn't enough interaction between the two to successfully make the way the Whoop works on the Apple Watch, because they need this holistic development. Another reason. When you submit an app to the App Store, it has to go through review. The exact depth of it, I'm not entirely sure, but you're pretty much giving your plans to the for lack of a better term, the enemy. So Whoop then would have to hand over everything that they're doing, get a good review, and then also have a kickback for the ability and the privilege to have their app on the App Store, get payment from it, from Apple. So then Apple's benefiting from it, and they're also taking like a very popular and sought after software from Whoop. So I think that's a couple of reasons. Like it's just going to work the way it does. I used to think maybe Apple would want to buy Whoop at some point, but I think Whoop's elevated itself to a market cap that just is going to be not the smartest purchase by Apple. And if they wanted to do something like Whoop, they would have made attempts at it already on their devices, because Whoop's now been around for a number of years. So Apple's going to do their own thing, Whoop's going to do their own thing, and I think they're just going to remain separate. Those are my thoughts on why it's not going to happen. Sorry if you holding out hope. I don't see it. If anybody from Whoop ever hears this and has more information you can provide me on that, I would really appreciate it. I love the inside baseball of business, especially at this level. It's something that I find incredibly fascinating. I love it. So now, how it's changed my life. A lot of you aren't going to like hearing this. It's reduced my fun. No, sorry. It's reduced my alcohol intake. I get awful hangovers. I've gotten them for years. I got them for some reason, out of nowhere in my mid-20s, I have a few beers and I just get multiple day hangovers. I don't know why, but that's what happens. People say it's like the Asian Pacific Islander descent. I'm half Filipino, but everyone I've asked in my family, how bad are your hangovers? Some say that they don't even get hangovers. They've never had a hangover. You're absolutely blessed. I thought we came from the same kind of genetic line, but for whatever reason, I got this awful trait of terrible hangovers. It didn't show up in my 23andMe. I don't know how to get rid of it. I actually asked my doctor one time, and I was like, yeah, doc, I get these awful hangovers. What can I do? And he goes, don't drink. And I was like, where'd you go to medical school? I'm not like, that's not what I asked, So basically that's the advice I got. But there's another thing, a little hidden thing that you're just not going to realize that is going to absolutely floor you, upset you, and everything else with the Whoop strap after you drink. Your heart. Alcohol is a downer. It's your heart doesn't like it. So HRV. I got to briefly touch on this because if you don't know it, it's just not going to be something that makes sense. HRV is your heart rate variability. It's the variation in time between your heartbeats. Like if you beat 60 beats per minute, you're not beating on the second every second. You're beating at 1.5 seconds. You're beating at 1.8 seconds. You're beating at 0.8 seconds. Like it's a variability, and it's this interaction between your autonomic nervous systems, your parasympathetic and your sympathetic. They each like control your fight or flight, or they control your digestion. And it's just when you're incredibly healthy, the two are fighting against one another, which creates a huge variability, and your heart rate variability goes up. Alcohol, boom, down, 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 down. It's a poison. We're sticking it in our bodies, and our HRV just tanks. When I'm at my fittest, I would say my HRV is hovering around, and it's very genetic. Like you shouldn't compare your HRV to someone else. If you're working out and you see your HRV go up, then you kind of set yourself a milestone of what you know that your body's capable of, and you can set that as, this is my benchmark, and you can improve upon it from there. It's not something you want to compare. But when you drink alcohol, boom, down. Your recovery score that you get, which is a number of factors as far as sleep, HRV, and strain from the previous day to tell you how much you've recovered from the previous day. The worst I got was 1%. My body recovered 1% from the previous day, and I think it was only because it couldn't tell me 0% or negative percent. Like I had to borrow recovery from the previous day, and it's from alcohol. I used to love bourbon, love Jim Beam, raised on it. Multiple generations of the men in my family drink it. I don't drink it anymore. It is absolutely terrible for my heart. I feel like crap, and it shows in the data. Beer, kind of middle ground. Wine's actually not bad. Not a whole bottle of wine, a good enough amount of wine. Red Bull vodkas, good Lord. I mean, you got an upper and a downer. You want to see some crap? God. So I stay away from that. And I know I mean, it's kind of a bitch drink, but like seltzers, I do really well on seltzers. I think they taste delicious. I'm talking White Claw, Bud Light seltzers. My body reacts well. I don't really get bad hangovers. Probably because they are a bitch drink to a lot of people. But I feel good. They taste good. I feel good. I don't look great drinking them. But that's what Whoop did to me. Whoop made me drink seltzers. But that was a big thing. Another thing, sleep. I used to be this idiot that prided myself like I can operate 4 hours sleep. I'm good to go. I'm ready. I'm all engines firing. I can remember everything. I can perform the best. And I'm talking in the prime of what should have been the prime of my athletic career in baseball or my intellectual career and performance in law school. I'm sitting there like a freaking idiot saying, hey, I got sleep. Now, I know for a lot of people, there's a lot of life obstacles that get in your way that you can't get your recommended 8 hours of sleep. And that is perfectly understandable. Listen, I was working 30 plus, close to 40 hours a week when I was in law school. I was a full-time student. That was probably the worst sleep years, 3 years of my life, where I would get up at 5:30 in the morning and wouldn't get home till almost midnight. And then I would study and I would just do this vicious cycle over and over again. God, I don't know what I would have done if I had the Whoop statistics back then. I don't know if I'd perform better. I don't know how I would have altered my schedule. It just wasn't feasible. And so I totally understand people that say, hey, then you get kids, you get a newborn, a whole bunch of reasons why you can't get your recommended 8 hours sleep. But it's also a recommended 8 hours of sleep. So Whoop has this awesome feature called the Sleep Coach based on a number of factors. Your performance through the day, which would be your strain score, and your previous sleep and your previous history. It accumulates your sleep debt. Now, I read this book called Why We Sleep because I became obsessed with sleep, and it's by Matthew Walker, the sleep expert. Highly recommend it. It's a mind-blowing book. Talks you through everything that happens when you don't get enough sleep, why we've evolved into this sleep pattern that we have, and a whole bunch of awesome, interesting facts that will just absolutely floor you and kind of just make you worry, because by not sleeping and accumulating a lot of sleep debt, you're actually taking time off your life, and it's just a proven fact. You're also getting to the point when you have sleep deprivation and a lot of sleep debt where you were performing in the same manner that you would be if you were intoxicated. People that drive long distances and don't get enough sleep. There's just a whole bunch of factors of how the lack of sleep affects your life in an incredibly negative way. And there's nothing you can take to make up for that for quality of sleep. Getting in the proper REM cycle, getting in that deep sleep, all that stuff. There's no proven clinical studies that have proven that anything that you can take, like melatonin, definitely not Ambien, it's a specific topic they talk about in the book, that improves quality of sleep. Now, you may have your eyes closed, you may be sitting there like a vegetable, but if you're not naturally hitting those natural sleep cycles, your body is not working in the way that it should. You're interrupting it by introducing some crap into your system, and you just have to make sure to keep your sleep debt as low as possible. And it's not something that you can actively track. Like, how the hell are you going to do it? Whoop does that. It's incredible. Again, go check out all my videos if you want to see more in depth of how it does that. But then you can also choose if you want to perform, if you want to get by, and Whoop will give you a recommendation. Actually, I don't know what time it is. It's actually kind of late. No, it didn't give it to me yet, but I think probably about 8:30. It's 8:22 at the time of recording this. It's going to tell me that, hey, if you want to get up by this time, you can set like your alarm. You need to go to sleep at this time to get all the recommended sleep. And then you can take naps. It'll track naps and all that stuff, good stuff, and it'll take away from your sleep debt. So sleep, 100%, super important to me. I got to make sure that, and then I add things. So getting the proper sleep, improving your HRV, everything works in this awesome holistic manner. HRV is also affected by your mental health. So I've been doing a lot of things to try to improve my mental health lately, especially a lot of things changing in my life, getting off rhythm. Got to get back on it, and HRV is a good metric. My HRV has been absolute crap, probably because, I'm just working out a lot more, or I'm working out with a higher strain. So it's getting my HRV down, plus with going through some like mental exercises like journaling and stuff. It all just works together, and it just changes your life absolutely for the better. Can't speak highly enough about it. There's some work you got to do. It doesn't outright tell you. So like the Amazon Halo, for example, was clearly going to be a Whoop competitor. I don't know anybody with the Amazon Halo. I don't think anyone wants to carry one more device or have one more device around them by Amazon that listens to you, because it literally listens. The Amazon Halo, it has like that tone. Like the tone analysis, like you really need your device to be like, hey, you sound like a bitch right now. Like, come on, I don't want that. Most people that I know that have at least tried it, or people online that have reached out to me said they've turned it off. Just I think it's a dumb feature. I don't understand who thought that was a good idea. Maybe they're just looking for anything as a market differentiator. I'm sure there was some IP that Amazon had, and they were just like, just throw it on this wearable. But the Amazon Halo pushes you to make changes in your life. Like one of them in their example is like, hey, you got dogs in the bed, sleep some crap, get your dog out of my bed. I'm going to tell you right now, I got a king size bed. My dog just sleeps in the bed. Like there's nothing that's going to tell me that the dog's going to get out of bed. So there is some work you got to do. You fill out this journal, and I've been terrible about it. So you're going to see a lot of missing information in the monthly assessment. Just to give you an example, you fill it out. The more information you give it, the more information it gives back. I know people that never do their journal. What are you doing? It takes maybe 60 seconds at the most to swipe through. I don't think you necessarily need to put in the time. It's got a lot of detail into it of, did you eat? What time? After doing it for months and months and months, I personally don't think that's necessary unless there's just something completely out of ordinary in my routine that I need to remember and I want it to capture in the monthly assessment. So do it, get your information. Now let's get into my monthly performance, and then we can walk through exactly what I'm going to change in my future. All right, there it is. There's going to be some personal questions in here. I got no problem sharing, whatever. All right. So if you're not familiar, all the data that you put into it, everything that you've done in the previous month gets captured, and then Whoop gives you this amazing sheet that you can look at and then make changes based on your make changes in your life. So I can see here right off the bat, my sleep's actually not bad. So I was trying to go through and find old monthly performances because this sleep, this 8:07, this 8 hours of average. Oh no, that's my sleep need. Sorry, reading it backwards. So my sleep went up 7 to 2 hours, but I had it higher a couple months ago. And one thing that did change, which was pretty cool, was cold showers. I did Wim Hof, the Wim Hof challenge of cold showers. And for some reason, maybe it's just the reduction of inflammation. That's kind of my theory. I got kind of bad knees. My sleep went up. Started sleeping like a baby. Anyway. So, and sorry if you're listening that you can't see this. I will try to be as visual with my words as possible. So we're going through the restorative sleep, and then you've got this chart of every day in the month that shows you what sleep I got versus actual, and then down here is actually my deep versus REM sleep. I noticed before that the more carbs I eat closer to bedtime, the more deep sleep I get. I wish there was some sort of like cohesive food journal that would work in conjunction with Whoop for like food timing. I don't know in the long term how useful it would be. I just knew this because especially when I was cutting weight, and then I was coming back to bulking and making sure to keep the right, like I wanted to gain the right weight. I was very careful of how I was like doing my nutrition timing. But if I was eating a lot of carbs and trying to when I was bulking, I was trying to fill my carbs up. I noticed that my deep sleep was up, which was pretty interesting. And that's kind of what you can see from this data and just knowing generally your habits. All right. Strain by the day of the week. All of this is down. Month of May was crazy. I was gone a lot. I was out of rhythm. I didn't have my gym. I didn't have my normal gym. So I was hopping around to different gyms. And again, I was doing my bodybuilding stuff. Usually all of these strains should be low teens, I would say. I'm usually hovering around like the 13 strain, like this Saturday. Is usually what my average strain would be. That would be on the low end. So overall, like keeping it down, kind of a good restorative month, I think, in my opinion. So I'm looking at that. But this tells me that I need to up that this month. I need to get back to doing my thing. I am moving to Austin this month, so I'm going to be starting a new gym towards the end of the month, which I'm super excited. I'm going to be very sad to leave my gym here in Fort Lauderdale. Again, it's CrossFit Riptide. If you're in the area, check it out. And if you're in Miami and you can make it to South Beach, CrossFit Miami Beach, amazing gym, amazing people at both. Amazing coaching, just all around good places to go. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, you can see like one CrossFit training day. I went to the First Form headquarters and did some CrossFit there one time. This is so low. This is all like I feel like a lazy piece of crap looking back at May, honestly. For me, I know like my running's going to be up this month and the next month. So I am going to revisit this and touch on this at least at some podcast. Maybe not I won't go as in depth into Whoop, this just being the first discussion about it. So activity strain, yeah, see here, 12.2 in April. April was low too, but climbing Mount Hood gave me my highest strain day ever. It was 20.6. You can only have a strain of 21, which means you're running your heart for an extended period of time at maximum effort, which makes sense because I was climbing a freaking mountain. 10.6, so low there. I know that should be like in the 13s. Got to get it up. Heart rate zones actually don't look too bad. to me. Heart rate zones are in relation to strain. Usually the 70 to 79% would be higher. You can see my running. The thing about running long distances, if you don't know, is like you do heart rate zone training, and what you want to do if to sustain a good pace for extended period, you do the zone training and you want that heart rate down. You keep it up, you can't sustain it. Recovery. I was awful with recovery again because I was on the road. When you switch any sort of time zone, it's going to screw you up as far as sleep and everything. And then I didn't have my gym, was out of my, just a bunch of excuses. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the data and I'm like, hey, I got to fix that. Like I need, looking just at May, some gaps in here, which I don't understand. Well, like, see, I'm looking at it and, okay. So this is what I'm going to take from this. My strain was lower. Like, look how light, you can see up here, and then April, how light it is. Strain down, strain down. Actually, my strain's been, lighter days represent low strain. Your average, 11.2, 11.1. So look at this. My strain's actually usually lower. I've actually not been great at all this year. Fridays are usually my lowest. That makes sense. Our workouts are usually the hardest on Fridays. I mean, I think I gotta up my numbers really looking at this. I've actually been lazy looking at this in detail just because I've thought I knew my body. So this is actually a really good exercise for me, to be honest. But you can see like these light days. There's so many in April. I think you see a couple of these really dark days. Jesus. My recovery should be better. If I'm not exerting myself, my recovery should be much better. So I don't like that my recovery stayed consistent. So I was lazy and I was out of it. And I could be honest, I was eating like crap. Didn't really gain weight, but anyway. And then sleep performance, sticking in the 96%. Yeah. Little rough here on the weekends, looks like, but overall my sleep is just, I started in January. That's when I started doing the cold showers and stuff, and you can see my sleep go up. It's been such a great introduction into my routine. And then here's my lazy ass. I wasn't doing my journal. Like I said, you get what you give. Go through massage therapy. No. I mean, you have masturbation, man. You can see, and it'll give you all these metrics and be like, hey, your HRV goes down when you treat yourself. So, things like sex, shared bed, being sick. No, I wasn't sick at all. Sleep mask. I haven't been wearing my sleep mask. I gotta put that back on. Keeps the light out of your eyes in introduction. Apparently, like, when sun hits your skin, it does gently wake you up, but mostly it comes from your eyes. So wearing a sleep mask has helped me stay asleep longer. Sleep in your own bed. Yeah. So I'm going to be very, very restorative. Yeah. See, okay. This is a lot more overreaching, lot more optimal over the past few months, except here, like, you can see these huge clouds of restorative strain. That this chart makes more sense. This gentle HRV, this is what I don't like to see. HRV for me should be 70 plus 80 milliseconds for a month, I think, is probably more prime for me. So I got to start taking some actions. I got to start working out more. I got to start recovering more, stretching. Haven't been stretching. I love the GoWOD mobility app. It's mainly focused for the CrossFit community, but you put your workouts in, anybody can use it. Put your workouts in, and it's not so much yoga, but it's actually directed to stretching, recovering of the workouts that you focused on, because that's what you input. Another monthly subscription, but we'll see. I need to get back on it. Just something I need to do. And that's the monthly performance. Go back to full screen. So I even, I'm actually surprised by looking at the data that I haven't been paying attention to it as well as I thought of. Like, I have not gone down and sat down and looked at the data to understand what I need to change. Like, I need to go back to stretching. I need to go back to working out and getting my strain up. I need to go back to eating healthier because my HRV and all that crap's down. Keep working on my mental health. Longer cold showers, maybe. One thing I'm going to be working on, the sleep tech product that I'm going to be getting is going to be amazing. I can't wait to use it and recommend it, but I think it's going to really, really help these numbers. And I mean, that's what I see. I see myself going down from my fitness that I want to, from the data, from my Whoop strap, and I'm going to make those changes over the next month. If this is something like interesting you, I mean, again, I highly recommend. If you do choose to join, you get $30 off your membership. You can cut it down to $150 a month for a 6-month membership by using my link. Benefits the channel, supports the channel, and then it benefits you because you get your $30 off. And that's it for this one. All about the Whoop. If the Whoop's not something that you use, sorry for this episode, but I can't recommend the tool enough. Again, I don't get paid for it. If I like your product, I'm gonna preach it. All right. So that's it for this one. Later, guys.